Hi guys, I'm going to use this lesson to review corporate social responsibility in the external environment. So in your textbook it is pages 84 to 87 and it is 2.9. There is also an activity on page 13 in your booklets as well, just a case study. So in your study design, what you need to know is CSR issues such as the environment considerations and planning with the production of goods and services which are in society's best interests. So we'll recap corporate social responsibility, but of course I'll refer to it mainly as CSR. So corporate social responsibility, you need to know this definition, the full definition. Corporate social responsibility is the obligations a business has over and above its legal responsibilities. So that's only part one of CSR. The second part is who it has responsibilities to: employees, customers, shareholders, the community, and the environment. So to specify that, I'm going to look at the characteristics. So whenever you mention CSR, you must mention what's known as the triple bottom line. So it's to do with economic, social, and environmental impact. So a business needs to make sure it goes over its obligations above and beyond its legal responsibilities, focusing on economic, social, and environmental impact, or abbreviated to the triple bottom line. So that means they can't just worry about profit anymore. They've got to worry about how they, influence the economy, as well how they influence society, so it could be the local community or the nation as a whole, and the environmental impacts. So minimizing any harm to the environment. If a business is able to do this, they have become what is known as sustainable, which means they are more likely to last a bit longer, and it's also good for their reputation. People are more likely to buy goods and services from a sustainable business that values CSR. So some examples could be giving a portion of the profits to charity, volunteer work, so employees volunteering instead of going to work a day, could be a couple of times a year, environmentally friendly policies and procedures, so recycling, using green energy or reducing carbon footprints, and embracing fair trade. So when you purchase supplies particularly from overseas, that you make sure that those suppliers are paid fairly and they are sustainable and treated well. So that's the examples. So non-examples are pretty much any legal requirement. Any requirement that is done by law is not part of CSR because a business is required to do so. So paying your employees a fair salary that's dictated by the government is not CSR, it's a legal requirement. They're paying someone a minimum salary or minimum wage, I should say. Safe workplace, OH&S, is a legal requirement. Selling goods and services that are fit for their purpose. So if you sell a dishwasher, that dishwasher is fit to wash dishes, as an example. So going back to this whole sustainability concept, if you focus on people, profits, and the planet, so society, the economy, and the planet, you're more likely to be sustainable. So as a business owner, I've got to take consideration into these things and how my business affects stakeholders and different factors. You want to be sustainable because it means that you will more likely last long term. Why CSR? Why should you do it? Because they're seen to meet their responsibilities and to be seen as good corporate citizens. So having a good reputation, it's going to help how the public perceives you. Communities now expect businesses to recognise their social responsibility. So going back to the profit, the people, and the environment. Now, businesses of all sizes should look at CSR. So it's not just the large businesses, and they too should strive to become good corporate citizens. So it's not just the big corporations. And they need to consider this in their planning. So particularly when they're initiating the business or any time they're doing any type of strategic planning. So what it can look like. So going back to some more examples. Providing education programs to the community. Volunteering in the community. So some examples are on the next slide. So it could be having someone from a big bank or a company like Microsoft coming in to speak to high school students. Establishing grant programs, so actually giving funds to other, say, smaller business or social enterprises. Collaborating and sharing knowledge with other businesses, so networking. And any type of sustainable business program. So it should be noted that when a business grows or as it gets bigger, the expectations for CSR and the scope of what they provide and what they do, going beyond their legal responsibilities or obligations, should grow as well. So this is an example. This is NAB. So if you look at also the little slogan here, more than money. So they want to be perceived as somebody or a group that actually does more than just their legal requirements, or just a bank that they also provide, for their community and for the environment as well. Oh, this little picture here is cut off a little bit. So this is what they've done recently, taken from their website. So Australians assisted with small loans in partnership with Good Shepherd. So it could be small loans, particularly for small businesses or for social enterprises. So contributing 57.1 million to their communities in 2019. They're having 13,464 volunteer days contributed in the last financial year. They've spent 33.6 billion on financing activities since 2015 to help combat climate change as well, and to transition to a low carbon economy, so using greener energies. And this one here, obviously to do with society as well, so having more females on boards, so obviously having women in more management roles. That might sound very silly, but women are underrepresented in the corporate world, and particularly in management or director roles. So this going into environmental concerns and of course planning the production of goods and services. So what businesses need to look at when they're actually thinking about the environment and planning for producing a good or a service. So obviously it's going to affect their planning. So when they establish or any type of strategic planning, so it could be expanding their business or operating in a different location, they need to look at going just also above their legal responsibilities and obligations. So they need to think about what can we do as a business to contribute to our community. So it needs to be regarded by all businesses regardless of their size. So even a sole trader or a business with less than 20 employees, because obviously they're going to have an impact on their local environments during the course of operating. So their day-to-day running. They need to be aware of how they impact the environment. So they can think about how the company itself and how they affect society as a whole. So for example, being environmentally friendly can save business money. So not having to purchase plastic bags to give to their customers could be an example. Being more socially responsible attracts more customers. So if you are more socially responsible than your competitor, you will have a competitive advantage. So here, being more competitive. Because customers are more willing to support any business that wants to contribute or willing to contribute to a society in a positive way. Because that goes back to that whole societal attitudes, because people are more likely to support businesses that are more socially responsible because they want to feel good at the end of the day. They're going to purchase goods and services, but you also want to feel proud of yourself for helping to contribute to your society by purchasing goods and services from a company who also shares those values. So during the planning stage, to be socially responsible, a business could invest in products such as rainwater tanks, so using recyclable water, solar energy, so solar panels, so they're not relying on natural resources like coal. They could be, for instance, if they're selling products online, their packaging being made of recyclable materials. Photocopy paper could be something that's recycled as well, so not just paper from trees. It could be recycled paper that they're using recycle bins and trying to minimize waste in general. So during this planning stage, obviously the main focus is to reduce environmental risks. So making sure you place control measures and developing an action plan if environmental issues arise. So if you've got a factory, thinking about what happens when things spill, so chemicals or fires, so trying to prevent that as much as possible, preventing environmental issues. A business needs to look at how their potential goods and services affect society at large. So for an example, if you sell a dodgy product, so a dodgy washing machine, dodgy dishwasher, dodgy computer, and you know it's dodgy, but you're selling it, it could affect society because they're going to have to replace those products and throw those products out. If your product is not durable, needs to be replaced constantly, could also lead to waste. So thinking about the quality of the goods and services that you sell. So if you're going to manufacture, you're going to be a manufacturing business, so you're going to create products, you need to take into account laws and regulations of the particular industry. So to ensure staff are safe and the products will not injure customers. So looking at OH&S requirements, so health and safety, looking at benchmarks or quality control for products. You focus a lot more on quality control once you hit Unit 3, Area Study 3. So during the planning stage, there is a focus on ideas that can contribute to the business and also society in general. So here's an example. So many new businesses are looking at ways to earn profit and be socially responsible. So for instance, in the hospitality sector, so selling, restaurants, bars, etc. For example, cafes have become a driving force in social enterprise sector in recent years. Charities and businesses are increasingly using cafes as a way to train and employ disadvantaged people who would otherwise struggle to find work. So people who are unemployed, homeless, refugees, etc. Some of these cafes are non-profit businesses. So they donate money to charities each year, while others are for-profit businesses that support people who might not be able to access employment and training. So here is a Melbourne example. So Street Melbourne, this picture I believe is from Melbourne Central. So Street is a youth homeless charity that runs a hospitality venture for across Melbourne. So since 2010, Street has trained and supported over 800 young people. So a lot of these young people are unemployed or homeless, and so they hope to be working with 1,095 young people by 2022. So Street is just a normal cafe, obviously selling coffee and other items, slices, cakes, etc. So they have a few cafes around the city, and their main function is to hire people who are young and obviously vulnerable, so homeless or unemployed. And so they hire and train those young people to work for their business. So they learn to become baristas and learn about customer service in the hospitality industry. Now remember, a lot of these young people wouldn't have this opportunity otherwise. I'll put a link on Teams for you so you can actually access that TED Talk. So it's someone who actually is a part of this organisation talking about how they came about. So guys, your task is to complete 2.9, questions 1 to 6, booklet page 13, so it's just a CSR case study, 2 questions, and glossary words, corporate social responsibility. So go back a couple of slides to look at my definition. Make sure you include going above and beyond its legal obligations, and that includes focusing on the triple bottom line, so economic, social, and environmental. So very important that you remember those 3 components as well. So I should also point out as a recap, it's very important, no matter what size the business is, that it takes into consideration its corporate social responsibility expectations, because the customers and society expect businesses to do this now. Like an unwritten legal obligation. And then lastly, making sure that you also have the glossary word customers. Thank you guys. Good luck. If you have any questions, email your teachers.